A practical guide to handling the common challenges facing the UK, with case studies. Forward. In every generation, a nation faces challenges that define its course, test its resilience, and shape the future for its people. The United Kingdom stands today at one of those defining crossroads. We are emerging from a period marked by global pandemics, economic upheaval, social transformation, and geopolitical tension, and ahead of us lies both uncertainty and immense opportunity. This book, A Practical Guide to Handling the Common Challenges Facing the UK, is not a manifesto. It is not a political sales pitch. It is a guide, one built on realism, action, and the core belief that government, when focused, honest, and strategic, can be a force for good. As Prime Minister, I have had the privilege and the burden of confronting crises that require immediate decisions, long-term thinking, and cross-party cooperation. Whether addressing the cost of living, the future of the NHS, or the global climate crisis, my approach has always been grounded in a simple principle: practical leadership over performative politics. This guide is written with a clear purpose: to offer transparent, solution-oriented insight into how we can tackle our most pressing national challenges. It brings together the lessons we've learned, the strategies that have worked, and the mistakes we must not repeat. It is grounded in real case studies from across the UK, from Glasgow to Manchester, Belfast to Birmingham, showcasing local innovation, resilience, and the power of united action. The United Kingdom is not just a country, it is a promise, to our citizens, to our children, and to the world. A promise that we can evolve without fracturing, modernize without forgetting who we are, and lead without losing sight of those we serve. This book is for public servants, policymakers, civil society leaders, business innovators, students of politics, and anyone who believes that Britain's best days are not behind us but ahead. Let this guide serve as a call to think boldly, act wisely, and lead with purpose. Introduction. A practical guide to handling the common challenges facing the UK, with case studies. By the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. In times of profound change and uncertainty, the greatest responsibility of leadership is to confront challenges with honesty, clarity, and action. This book is written not as a theoretical discourse, but as a practical guide, one grounded in the real issues facing our United Kingdom and the real efforts we are making to address them. Over the past decade, the UK has weathered a series of defining moments: the global financial aftershocks, Brexit, a once-in-a-century pandemic, war on the European continent, energy insecurity, and the accelerating effects of climate change. Each of these events has tested our systems, our unity, and our resilience. But they have also revealed the remarkable capacity of the British people to adapt, endure, and move forward. As Prime Minister, I am entrusted not only with overseeing government policy, but with building public trust, ensuring national unity, and preparing our country for the future. This guide is part of that responsibility. Why this book, and why now? Our country faces a complex blend of challenges: economic strain, public service pressures, social inequality, international uncertainty, and a rapidly evolving technological landscape. These issues are interlinked. You cannot solve the housing crisis without addressing local infrastructure. You cannot build a green economy without investing in education, science, and skills. You cannot lead on the world stage without strong institutions at home. Too often, politics separates these issues into silos. This book aims to do the opposite. It presents a comprehensive, interwoven, and solution-driven roadmap for addressing the UK's most pressing challenges, guided by practical policies, honest reflections, and real-life case studies. What you'll find in this guide. Each chapter focuses on a key domain of national concern, ranging from economic recovery and health reform to climate leadership, digital transformation, youth engagement, and defence. Every issue is approached with context, a clear explanation of the challenge we face. Solutions, practical, actionable government policies and proposals. Case studies, real-world examples of how these strategies have been applied, evaluated, and adapted. Vision, how short-term fixes fit into a long-term, sustainable plan for the UK. Whether you are a policymaker, public servant, student, business leader, or concerned citizen, this guide is designed to provide insight, accountability, and a working model for progress. Principles behind this approach. At the heart of this guide are three core principles. 1. Pragmatism over ideology. We need what works, not what sounds good. 2. Partnership over centralization. Government cannot solve every problem alone. Success depends on partnerships with local communities, business, civil society, and individuals. 3. Future thinking over short-termism. Our decisions today must be worthy of the generations to come. A country worth building, together. Britain has always shown the ability to overcome hardship and lead on the global stage, not because we are perfect, but because we are willing to confront imperfection with courage and reform. This guide is not the final word, it is an invitation. To think bigger. To act smarter. To lead together. If we meet our challenges with seriousness and purpose, there is no reason the United Kingdom cannot emerge stronger, more united, and more forward-looking than at any time in our modern history. Let's get to work. Chapter 1. Tackling Cost of Living Pressures. Case Study, the 2022 to 2024 Energy Bills Crisis and Government Response. Introduction. The cost of living is not just an economic issue, it is a matter of dignity, fairness, and national stability. Over the past decade, UK households have faced mounting financial pressure due to inflation, rising housing costs, energy price shocks, and stagnant wages. This chapter presents practical, cross-sector solutions to relieve these burdens and ensure working families, pensioners, and vulnerable citizens can thrive, not just survive. Understanding the cost of living crisis. Key drivers. 1. Global energy price shocks, triggered by the Russia-Ukraine war and post-pandemic recovery. Wholesale energy prices surged, affecting millions of households and businesses. 2. Inflationary pressures, food prices, transportation costs, and imported goods saw significant increases, reducing purchasing power. 3. Stagnant wage growth. Real wage growth remained sluggish, especially in the public sector, further eroding household resilience. 4. Housing costs, rent inflation and insufficient affordable housing options placed disproportionate pressure on low and middle-income earners. 5. Tax burden and debt. National insurance increases and rising interest rates impacted disposable income. Policy response framework. To address these issues in a practical, phased manner, the government adopted a three-pillar strategy. 1. Emergency relief. Immediate interventions to shield vulnerable groups and stabilize household budgets. Energy Price Guarantee, EPG, to cap average household bills. £400 energy rebate for all UK households. Targeted cost of living payments to low-income families and pensioners. Free school meals and winter heating grants expansions. 2. Structural reform. Long-term policies to rebalance the economy. National minimum wage increases and living wage alignment. Reforming universal credit taper rates to encourage work. Housing benefit uplifts in line with inflation. Accelerated investment in renewable energy to reduce import dependency. 3. Economic empowerment. Empowering households through better access to opportunities. Upskilling and reskilling programs for workers in transition. Expansion of affordable childcare to support working parents. Devolution of funding to local authorities to pilot localized cost of living interventions. Partnerships with credit unions to offer fair access to emergency finance. Case Study, the 2022 to 2024 Energy Bills Crisis and Government Response. Background. In late 2021, global wholesale gas prices began to surge. By early 2022, average UK household energy bills were projected to rise by over 80%. Coupled with inflation nearing 10%, the government faced a crisis that required immediate and unprecedented intervention. Government action taken? Introduced the Energy Price Guarantee, capping household bills at £2,500, later adjusted based on wholesale market movement. Provided a £400 universal energy grant and additional means-tested payments. Introduced a windfall tax on energy companies profiting from the crisis to fund household support. Partnered with Ofgem to stabilize the energy retail market and avoid supplier collapses. accelerated home insulation schemes through the Energy Company Obligation, ECO4, to reduce long-term demand. Outcomes: over 25 million households received direct financial support. Inflation was partially tamed by Q3 2023 due to stabilizing energy prices. The crisis highlighted the UK's vulnerability to global energy markets, accelerating investment into domestic renewables and nuclear energy. Lessons learned: emergency measures must be coupled with long-term strategy. Universal support creates simplicity, but targeted aid delivers efficiency. Transparent communication and partnership with private providers are essential in moments of crisis. Policy recommendations going forward: 1. Introduce an independent cost of living review body, tasked with publishing quarterly assessments and advising on responsive fiscal measures. 2. Expand local living wage zones, where higher wages are offset by lower tax burdens or housing support, tailored to local conditions. 3. Invest in public transport and digital infrastructure, to reduce household dependency on private transport and promote remote working where possible. 4. Support for food security initiatives, backing local farms, food banks, and low-cost cooperative supermarkets in underserved communities. 5. Review of utility pricing regulation, ensure long-term energy market stability through more robust regulatory oversight. Conclusion: the cost of living challenge is dynamic and deeply rooted in both global systems and domestic policy gaps. The UK's response to the energy bills crisis proved that government can act quickly, decisively, and compassionately when necessary. But emergency relief is not a substitute for structural change. Through smarter policy design, long-term investment, and community-led solutions, we can create a United Kingdom where no family has to choose between heating and eating, and where resilience is not a privilege, but a right. Certainly. Below is Chapter 2 of your book, written in the voice of a sitting UK Prime Minister, pragmatic, informed, and solution-focused, while incorporating real challenges and actionable policy ideas. Chapter 2, Building a Future-Ready Economy. The future is not something to predict. It is something to build. Peter F. Drucker. Introduction. In the face of economic transformation driven by climate change, technological acceleration, and global geopolitical shifts, the United Kingdom stands at a crossroads. After decades of economic growth built on financial services, globalization, and EU market access, we must now craft a new, resilient, and forward-looking economic model. This chapter lays out how we can build an economy that is not only stable in the short term, but competitive, inclusive, and sustainable in the long term. Our focus must be on industries of the future, regional regeneration, digital skills, and the green transition. The challenge: an outdated economic model. For too long, our economy has leaned heavily on services concentrated in London and the South East. While these sectors remain world-class, the economy's structural weaknesses, stagnant productivity, regional inequality, underinvestment in innovation, have become increasingly exposed. The COVID-19 pandemic, global supply chain shocks, and the UK's new trading relationship with the EU have forced us to ask fundamental questions about how we create growth. Pillars of a future-ready economy. To reshape our economic model, we are focused on 5 key pillars. 1. Reindustrialization through innovation. We will revive British manufacturing by aligning it with high-tech and clean industries. Advanced manufacturing in robotics, aerospace, electric vehicles, EVs, and biotechnology is a cornerstone of this strategy. Policy action. £2 billion Advanced Manufacturing Innovation Fund, AMIF. Creation of national innovation clusters in former industrial towns. 2. Net zero as an economic opportunity. Climate action is not a cost, it is a catalyst for jobs and investment. From offshore wind to hydrogen, the UK is positioned to lead the green industrial revolution. Policy action. Expansion of the UK Infrastructure Bank's green investment capacity. Clean energy investment zones in Teesside, Grimsby, and Aberdeen. Streamlined planning for green energy projects. 3. Digital and data-driven growth. The UK tech sector is the largest in Europe. But to compete globally, we must expand digital infrastructure and equip people with 21st century skills. Policy action. Universal broadband access by 2027. National Digital Skills Strategy for retraining workers. Regulation of AI through a light-touch but ethical model to stimulate growth. For a skilled and adaptable workforce. Future economies depend on lifelong learning. We must reduce the academic vocational divide and support people transitioning between industries. Policy action. Lifelong learning entitlement, £37,000 in credits for adult education. National Apprenticeship Expansion Scheme. Boost to STEM education in secondary and tertiary institutions. 5. Unlocking regional potential. A future-ready economy cannot be built in London alone. Leveling up must be made real by empowering regions to drive their own growth. Policy action. Fiscal devolution to metro mayors. Reformed local enterprise partnerships, LEPs. Transport and digital infrastructure funding for underserved areas. Case study, the UK's AI and green tech investment zones. In 2024, we launched 10 innovation investment zones across the UK, in partnership with devolved governments and universities. These zones focused on AI, advanced manufacturing, and clean energy. One such zone in South Yorkshire attracted £1.4 billion in private investment within the first year, creating 6,000 jobs. The success of these zones came from three things. Local leadership empowered with real fiscal levers. Fast-track planning and regulatory frameworks. Collocation of research institutions with commercial partners. This model is now being replicated in Wales and Northern Ireland, demonstrating the potential of place-based industrial policy. What success looks like? By 2030, our ambition is to raise productivity growth to 2% annually. Create over 500,000 clean economy jobs. Increase R&D investment to 2.4% of GDP. Eliminate the digital infrastructure gap between urban and rural areas. Ensure every adult has access to affordable lifelong learning. Conclusion. A future-ready economy must be innovative, inclusive, and green. That means bold investment today, not cautious tinkering. It means trusting our regions to lead their own growth and empowering our people to shape their own careers. The economy of the past served us well, but it is the economy of the future that will secure our place in the world. Our task is not to fear change, but to lead it. Chapter 3, NHS and Healthcare Reform. Case study, post-COVID NHS recovery plans in Greater Manchester. Introduction. The National Health Service, NHS, is the backbone of British public life, a symbol of equity, compassion, and shared responsibility. But in recent years, it has faced some of the greatest challenges in its history. An aging population, chronic staff shortages, outdated infrastructure, and the long shadow of the COVID-19 pandemic have pushed the NHS to a tipping point. This chapter explores how we can preserve the founding principles of the NHS while adapting it to the realities of the 21st century. We look at bold reforms, practical actions, and real-world case studies that are already making a difference, beginning with the post-COVID recovery strategy in Greater Manchester. Section 1. Key challenges facing the NHS. 1.1 Staffing shortages. Over 100,000 vacancies across the NHS workforce as of 2025, with critical gaps in nursing, general practice, and mental health. Burnout and high attrition following the COVID-19 pandemic. 1.2 Long waiting times. Elective surgeries and specialist appointments delayed for months or even years. Emergency departments under extreme pressure. 1.3 Underinvestment in infrastructure. Aging hospitals, outdated IT systems, and limited digital integration. Inefficiencies due to paper-based workflows in parts of the system. 1 point for mental health crisis. A surge in mental health needs, especially among young people and working adults. Inadequate funding and poor integration with primary care services. Section 2. Strategic reforms for a stronger NHS. 2. 1 Workforce expansion and retention. National Workforce Plan funded expansion of medical and nursing school places. Retention incentives, housing support for NHS workers, flexible scheduling, and fast-track leadership programs. International talent, responsible recruitment pipelines from partner countries with ethical standards. 2.2 Integrated Care Systems, ICSs. Creating joined-up services that connect GPS, hospitals, social care, and community providers. Local control over care budgets to reflect regional health priorities. Streamlined patient records and interoperable data systems. 2.3 Digital transformation. Accelerating the rollout of electronic health records across trusts. Expanded use of telemedicine for routine GP appointments and follow-ups. Investment in AI diagnostics, digital triage, and remote monitoring for chronic conditions. 2. For preventative and community-based care. Shifting focus from treatment to prevention. Funding local well-being hubs, social prescribing networks, and mobile clinics. Promoting exercise, nutrition, and early screening, especially in deprived communities. 2.5 Mental health reform. A dedicated mental health recovery fund to expand services for children and adolescents. 24/7 crisis support hotlines and walking mental health centers in urban areas. Training for GPS and frontline workers to detect and respond to mental health issues early. Section 3, Case Study, Greater Manchester's Post-COVID NHS Recovery Plan. Background. Greater Manchester became the UK's first region to gain devolved control over its health and social care budget in 2016, and that foundation proved critical in the post-COVID recovery. Key features of the recovery plan. Community-based triage hubs, introduced to alleviate A&E pressure by redirecting non-urgent cases to local clinics. Hospital-at-home programs, used remote monitoring to allow patients recovering from surgery or COVID-related illness to heal at home under clinical supervision. Mental health rapid response teams, deployed to schools, workplaces, and police units for early intervention. Data-driven integration, the use of shared electronic records improved communication between hospitals, GPS, and local councils. Outcomes, 2022 to 2024. 30% reduction in non-urgent A&E visits. 40% increase in preventative screenings. 18% increase in mental health referrals being seen within 2 weeks. Higher patient satisfaction and trust in local NHS services. This case illustrates the power of local leadership, digital innovation, and holistic care planning in creating a more sustainable and effective NHS. Section 4, National Priorities Moving Forward. To embed lessons from Greater Manchester across the UK, the following steps must be prioritised. Expand devolution deals to allow more local authorities control over health services. Scale up digital health pilots to create a unified NHS data architecture. Create a national centre for health innovation to test and rapidly deploy new treatments, technologies, and service models. Make mental health services parity of priority with physical health in funding and policy. Conclusion. The NHS is not broken, but it must change. Reform is not abandonment, it is renewal. The aim is not to Americanize our system, nor to privatize care, but to modernize it for the benefit of all. A practical approach to healthcare reform requires political courage, public trust, and partnerships at every level, from Downing Street to district councils, and from hospitals to homes. The transformation of the NHS will define not only the future of our healthcare but also the strength and fairness of our society. Chapter 4, Education for a Competitive 21st Century. Overview. Education is the foundation of a fair, prosperous, and forward-looking United Kingdom. It is through our schools, colleges, and universities that we equip the next generation with the skills, knowledge, and values needed to thrive in a rapidly evolving world. Yet, despite progress in key areas, the UK's education system continues to face persistent challenges, from teacher shortages and regional inequality to outdated curricula and a disconnect between academic achievement and employability. This chapter outlines the current state of education in the UK, identifies core challenges, and proposes practical, targeted strategies to make our education system globally competitive, equitable, and fit for the future. Key challenges. 1. Curriculum outdated for the modern economy. Many schools still rely on a curriculum rooted in the 20th century, lacking emphasis on digital literacy, climate education, coding, entrepreneurship, and real-world problem-solving. While literacy and numeracy remain critical, so too does preparing students for AI, green technologies, and global citizenship. 2. Disparities in educational outcomes. There remains a stark gap in outcomes between affluent and disadvantaged areas. Pupils from deprived backgrounds are statistically less likely to achieve top GCSE and A-level results, and far less likely to attend Russell Group universities. 3. Teacher recruitment and retention. High workload, limited pay progression, and poor work-life balance have contributed to a national shortage of qualified teachers, especially in STEM subjects and SEND, special educational needs and disabilities, provision. 4. Skills gap in post-16 education. Further education, technical training, and apprenticeships are often seen as secondary to university routes. Employers regularly report that school leavers lack the vocational and soft skills required in today's job market. 5. Digital divide. COVID-19 exposed and widened the digital divide, with children in low-income households significantly less likely to have access to laptops or high-speed internet for learning at home. Strategic priorities and solutions. Small Blue Diamond modernize the curriculum. Introduce a 21st century core curriculum in all UK nations with compulsory digital skills, financial literacy, critical thinking, and climate science education. Expand coding and AI literacy from primary level onwards. Embed real-world, project-based learning to encourage innovation and collaboration. Small Blue Diamond close the opportunity gap. Launch a national education equity fund targeting areas with persistent underperformance. Provide additional funding for early years interventions and breakfast clubs in disadvantaged areas. Strengthen pupil premium policies and oversight to ensure funds directly improve educational attainment. Small Blue Diamond support and retain teachers. Implement a national teacher well-being and retention strategy, including pay increases tied to cost of living and regional demand. Reduced administrative burden through digitized planning and reporting. Enhance mental health support and peer coaching systems. Expand recruitment incentives for critical shortage subjects and regions. Small Blue Diamond elevate vocational and technical pathways. Expand and promote T-levels and degree apprenticeships through targeted campaigns and employer partnerships. Ensure parity of esteem between academic and technical routes by integrating them into league tables and funding formulas. Fund regional skills and innovation colleges linked to local industry needs, e.g., green energy in Teesside, cyber in Cheltenham. Small Blue Diamond bridge the digital divide. Guarantee every pupil access to a personal learning device by 2027. Invest in broadband infrastructure for rural and underserved communities. Partner with tech firms to deliver digital skills boot camps for students and teachers alike. Case study, Education Transformation in East London Boroughs. In 2022, Tower Hamlets, Newham, and Barking and Dagenham launched a collaborative education initiative called Pathways to Excellence, aimed at raising achievement through cross-borough school improvement partnerships, investment in tech labs and maker spaces, culturally responsive curricula, employer engagement for real-world learning. Results: GCSE pass rates increased by 12% over 2 years. A 40% rise in students applying for STEM courses at university. Drop in NEET, not in education, employment or training, figures across all boroughs. This localized, collaborative model demonstrates how targeted investment, strong leadership, and cross-sector engagement can yield transformative outcomes, and provides a blueprint for nationwide replication. The road ahead. We must see education not as a cost, but as a long-term investment in the prosperity, unity, and resilience of our nation. A competitive 21st century Britain demands a school system that does more than deliver test scores. It must ignite curiosity, foster creativity, and prepare every child, no matter their background, for success in an unpredictable world. As Prime Minister, I believe that education is the greatest equalizer and the most powerful engine for progress. This government is committed to delivering real, measurable change in every classroom across the UK. Chapter 5: Tackling Social Inequality and Integration. A fair society is not simply a moral aspiration, it is a practical necessity for national unity and long-term prosperity. Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Overview. Social inequality in the United Kingdom is one of the most enduring challenges we face as a nation. While the UK is home to world-leading institutions, advanced industries, and significant wealth, it is also a country where opportunity is unevenly distributed by region, by race, by class, and by circumstance. Whether it's life expectancy, educational attainment, or income, the postcode into which a person is born still too often determines the opportunities they will, or won't, have. This chapter outlines our practical, multi-pronged approach to tackling inequality and improving social integration across the UK. The nature of the challenge. The evidence is stark. Children born in the most deprived areas of England are likely to live up to 10 years less than their counterparts in wealthier communities. Nearly 4 million children live in households experiencing food insecurity. Some ethnic minority groups experience disproportionate rates of poverty, unemployment, and discrimination. Regional economic disparities persist, with productivity in the southeast significantly outpacing regions such as the northeast and parts of the Midlands. Beyond material deprivation, inequality breeds disconnection, distrust, and sometimes division, threatening the fabric of our society. Our strategic approach. Our government's response is anchored in 3 practical pillars. 1. Levelling up, reducing regional disparities. We've moved beyond slogans to serious action. The Levelling Up strategy is about empowering local communities to take control of their own economic futures. Key interventions. Devolved funding to mayoral combined authorities and local councils. Investment in skills boot camps, digital connectivity, and local enterprise zones. Creation of innovation accelerators in underserved regions. 2. Early intervention and equal opportunity. Social inequality begins early, often before a child reaches the school gates. Key policies. Expansion of family hubs in disadvantaged communities. Increased funding for free school meals and early years education. Support for children in care and care leavers, including education bursaries and housing guarantees. 3. Integration and inclusion. Inequality is not only about income. It is about whether everyone feels they have a stake in our society. Measures include expansion of the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, including cultural and integration initiatives. Support for English language acquisition and employment readiness for immigrants. Funding for community cohesion projects that bring people from different backgrounds together. Case study: the Levelling Up Agenda in North East England. In 2023, the North East was selected as a focal point for an integrated Levelling Up pilot. Interventions included £220 million in infrastructure upgrades, including transport links and urban renewal. Launch of the Opportunity North Skills Initiative, which offered retraining and apprenticeships in emerging industries like clean energy and advanced manufacturing. Expanded digital learning hubs in schools and libraries across Sunderland and Middlesbrough. Outcomes: by early 2025. Over 14,000 people retrained or upskilled. A 12% increase in SME creation in the Tees Valley area. Statistically significant improvements in community trust in local government. This case illustrates the power of targeted investment combined with local leadership and accountability. Measuring success. To ensure lasting impact, we are adopting a data-driven model of accountability. A new Social Opportunity Index will monitor progress across housing, health, income, and education. Local authorities are being given performance-linked funding, rewarding areas that show measurable progress in social outcomes. Cross-government coordination through the Social Mobility Task Force, reporting annually to Parliament. Challenges ahead. Despite these interventions, the path is not without obstacles. Economic headwinds, including inflation and global instability, can slow progress. Capacity constraints in local government limit delivery in some areas. Persistent systemic biases in housing, employment, and policing need sustained cultural and institutional change. We acknowledge these issues not to excuse slow progress, but to transparently frame the scale and complexity of the challenge. Conclusion: a more just and united nation. Reducing inequality is not a box to tick, it is a generational mission. Our aim is not simply to help people survive hardship, but to give every person, in every part of the country, the opportunity to live a full, healthy, and empowered life. As Prime Minister, I firmly believe that a country that invests in its people, wherever they live and whatever their background, is a country that secures its future. Key takeaways. Inequality is multidimensional and regionally concentrated. Leveling up is about empowerment, not just redistribution. Community integration and early intervention are critical. Success depends on local leadership, national support, and sustained political will. Chapter 6: Immigration and Border Management. Balancing sovereignty, security, and compassion in a modern Britain. Overview. Immigration is one of the most complex and sensitive policy areas in the United Kingdom today. It touches on sovereignty, security, economy, cultural integration, and humanitarian responsibility. The challenge lies in developing a system that is firm but fair, efficient but humane, and responsive to both domestic needs and international obligations. This chapter presents the UK's immigration challenges, explores practical reforms, and draws lessons from real-world implementation. It also reflects on how to navigate public opinion while upholding the nation's values and international commitments. The UK's immigration landscape, pressures and misconceptions. Over the past decade, the UK has experienced multiple waves of immigration, from EU free movement to asylum seekers fleeing conflict zones. The end of free movement post-Brexit has shifted the focus from EU migration to global mobility, while irregular migration across the English Channel has triggered political, legal, and ethical debate. Key pressures include irregular channel crossings. Over 45,000 crossings were recorded in 2022, straining border systems. Asylum system backlogs. Over 100,000 claims pending at various stages. Housing and support. Temporary hotel accommodations costing taxpayers over £8 million per day. Public sentiment. Concerns over integration, housing pressure, and border control are widespread in polls. Labour market needs. Post-Brexit sectors like health, care, and agriculture face labour shortages that migration can fill. Policy goals and strategic principles. Our government must operate on clear, balanced principles. 1. Firm control of borders, national security and sovereignty are non-negotiable. 2. Efficient legal routes. Streamlined legal migration supports the economy and society. 3. Compassion and responsibility. The UK remains committed to the UN Refugee Convention and its humanitarian legacy. 4. Fair burden sharing. Local authorities and devolved nations must be supported proportionately. 5. Public confidence and transparency. People must trust the system is working in the national interest. What we've done. Recent reforms. Several reforms have been introduced or initiated to address system challenges. 1. Points-based immigration system. Introduced post-Brexit to prioritise skills over origin. Attracts health workers, engineers, and teachers. Addresses economic gaps while restoring control. 2. New Plan for Immigration, 2021. Emphasises speedy removal of individuals with no right to remain. Introduces tougher sentences for people smugglers and traffickers. Reforms asylum procedures to discourage illegal entry. 3. Bilateral returns and enforcement. New agreements with France and Albania to return failed asylum seekers. Increased funding for border force and maritime patrols. 4. Legal safe routes expansion. Expanded resettlement for Afghan, Ukrainian, and Hong Kong nationals. Prioritizes vulnerable groups through official channels. Case study, the Rwanda asylum policy, lessons learned. In 2022, the UK government announced a policy to relocate certain asylum seekers to Rwanda for processing, intended to deter illegal entry and break the people smuggling business model. Objectives: create a strong deterrent to channel crossings. Provide rapid asylum processing outside the UK. Reduce pressure on domestic support systems. Challenges: legal opposition, widespread court challenges and human rights concerns. Public division, strong political and media debate over the ethics and effectiveness. International criticism, raised concerns from the UNHCR and international legal bodies. Lessons: policy clarity and legal robustness must precede implementation. Deterrence must be balanced with viable legal routes. International cooperation and public support are essential for success. The way forward: practical solutions. 1. Create more efficient asylum processing. Digital case tracking systems. Fast track for manifestly unfounded claims. Specialist asylum case officers and training. 2. Invest in border technology and infrastructure. Modernized biometric screening at ports and airports. Smart surveillance systems at high-risk crossing points. Joint UK-EU border task force post-Brexit. 3. Strengthen legal safe routes. Regional sponsorship programs, e.g., local councils can sponsor refugee families. Scalable humanitarian visa frameworks in coordination with allies. 4. Promote integration and community support. Language training, employment pathways, and civic education. Support for councils hosting asylum seekers and refugees. Funding for community groups tackling anti-immigrant sentiment. 5. Transparency and public engagement. Regular publication of migration data and outcomes. Public information campaigns to combat myths and misinformation. Cross-party cooperation to stabilize immigration policy beyond political cycles. Conclusion: immigration, when well managed, is not a threat, it is a driver of growth, diversity, and resilience. The UK must continue to evolve a fair, humane, and enforceable system that upholds its borders while embracing those who contribute to society or seek refuge from danger. A strong immigration policy does not begin with fear or ideology. It begins with responsibility to citizens, to migrants, and to the values that define modern Britain. Chapter 7: Crime, Safety, and Policing. Case study: Violence Reduction Units in Scotland and London. Overview: ensuring public safety is one of the most fundamental duties of government. Yet, in recent years, the United Kingdom has faced complex challenges that go beyond traditional forms of crime. Knife crime, cybercrime, domestic abuse, and organized criminal networks have evolved in scope and impact. The rise in youth violence in urban centers, the fear of crime in many communities, and the pressures faced by police forces have raised urgent questions. How do we deliver security in a modern, diverse, and often fragmented society? This chapter outlines the key trends in crime and policing, assesses what has and hasn't worked, and provides a framework for practical, evidence-led interventions to create safer communities. At its heart is the belief that enforcement must be coupled with prevention and that local partnerships are as vital as national leadership. Key challenges: 1. Rising knife and youth violence. Surge in knife-related offences in major cities. Young people disproportionately affected as both perpetrators and victims. School exclusions, poverty, and social media influence among root causes. 2. Under-resourced police forces. Budget constraints from previous austerity periods. Loss of community policing presence. Increased workload due to mental health call-outs and safeguarding responsibilities. 3. Trust and confidence in policing. Public concerns about discrimination, misconduct, and heavy-handed tactics. Disproportionate stop and search rates among ethnic minorities. Need for transparency and reform in police culture. 4. Cybercrime and digital threats. Rise in fraud, identity theft, online abuse, and ransomware. Police forces under-equipped in digital capabilities and forensic tools. Strategic priorities and solutions. 1. Expand Violence Reduction Units, VRUs, nationwide. VRUs are cross-agency partnerships that focus on preventing violence through data-driven interventions, outreach, and support. They bring together police, health services, youth workers, local authorities, and educators to tackle root causes of violent crime. Action Plan. O. Secure long-term funding for VRUs across all major urban areas. O. Embed VRU models in youth justice systems. O. Use real-time data sharing to identify high-risk individuals and locations. Success metric: 15% reduction in knife-related offenses over 5 years in areas with VRUs. 2. Reinvest in community policing. Visible, consistent, and locally embedded officers play a key role in building trust and deterring crime. Action Plan. O. Recruit and retain an additional 20,000 neighborhood officers. O. Require forces to publish community engagement plans annually. O. Introduce incentive schemes for officers to stay in high-need communities. Success metric: 20% increase in public confidence scores in annual crime surveys. 3. Reform police training and accountability. A modern police force must reflect the values and diversity of the communities it serves. Action Plan. O. Update training on de-escalation, unconscious bias, and digital policing. O. Empower independent scrutiny panels to review stop and search data and misconduct cases. O. Implement body-worn camera accountability for all frontline encounters. Success metric: 50% reduction in upheld public complaints within 3 years. F. Invest in early intervention and youth opportunity. Preventing crime starts long before the first offense. Young people need pathways away from violence and toward opportunity. Action Plan. O. Expand youth diversion programs and mentoring in schools and pupil referral units. O. Partner with employers to create targeted job schemes in high-crime areas. O. Strengthen family support and mental health access for at-risk youth. Success metric: 25% drop in first-time youth offenders within 5 years. 5. Strengthen cybercrime capacity. Digital crime is no longer a niche concern, it is now the fastest-growing category of offense. Action Plan. O. Establish regional cybercrime units with advanced investigative capacity. O. Recruit civilian digital experts into police forces. O. Improve public awareness and business support for cyber hygiene. Success metric: 30% increase in cybercrime prosecutions by 2028. Case study: Violence Reduction Units in Scotland and London. The Scottish VRU, launched in 2005 and dubbed the Public Health Approach to Violence, transformed Glasgow's reputation from a murder capital of Europe to a model of youth violence reduction. By treating violence like an epidemic, the unit combined enforcement with wraparound care, education, mentoring, therapy, and family support. Inspired by this, London launched its own VRU in 2018. Early results show promise: coordinated youth services, hotspot policing informed by data, and better relationships between police and communities have begun to shift outcomes. Key takeaways: multi-agency cooperation is essential. Prevention works when given time and consistency. Community trust is built, not bought. Conclusion: security is not solely the domain of police, it is a shared societal responsibility. Government must lead with investment, innovation, and integrity. The path to safer communities lies not only in strong enforcement, but in strong relationships, early support, and a clear-eyed commitment to justice for all. As Prime Minister, I remain steadfast in the belief that a safer Britain is both possible and essential, and that we must tackle crime not only with strength, but with strategy. Chapter 8: Post-Brexit Diplomacy and Trade. Case study: the UK-Australia Free Trade Agreement. Introduction. Brexit was more than a referendum result, it was a turning point in Britain's modern history. It presented a sovereign opportunity, but also immense diplomatic and economic recalibration. Post-Brexit, the United Kingdom has had to redefine its position on the global stage, no longer as a leading member of the European Union, but as an independent trading nation committed to free markets, shared security, and global cooperation. This chapter explores how the UK is navigating trade, diplomacy, and international influence in this new era, and how we can turn our geopolitical repositioning into long-term strategic gain. The diplomatic reset. Following our exit from the EU in 2020, we embarked on an ambitious journey to reforge our international partnerships. This began with two immediate challenges. 1. Rebuilding trust with European partners, particularly around the Northern Ireland Protocol and trade friction. 2. Establishing new trade agreements that align with UK interests and values. Through it all, diplomacy had to evolve from Brussels-centric coordination to a global, nimble, and interest-driven foreign policy. Our Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO, has since refocused efforts on three key areas: economic diplomacy, global development partnerships, security alliances. The trade strategy post-Brexit. The UK's post-Brexit trade policy has centred on three pillars. 1. Securing free trade agreements, FTAs. Prioritising countries with high growth potential and strategic influence: Australia, Japan, CPTPP nations, India, Gulf states. Carrying over 70 EU trade deals. 2. Promoting UK exports and investment. Building UK export finance capacity. Supporting SMEs with international expansion. 3. Championing free and fair trade in global forums. Maintaining leadership roles at the WTO. Pushing for digital trade, service liberalization, and climate-resilient trade rules. Challenges and lessons learned. Market access versus standards. Striking trade deals post-Brexit has required a delicate balance between lowering tariffs and preserving high standards in food safety, labour, and environment. UK-EU trade frictions. Despite the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, TCA, issues remain with bureaucracy, Northern Ireland trade flows, and service sector access. Public trust in trade policy. Transparency and communication are vital. Citizens need to see not only the economic benefits of trade deals, but also how these align with UK values and standards. Case study: the UK-Australia Free Trade Agreement. Overview. Signed in December 2021 and entered into force in May 2023, the UK-Australia Free Trade Agreement, FTA, marked one of the UK's first major post-Brexit trade achievements. Key features: removal of tariffs on UK exports including cars, whiskey, and ceramics. Gradual liberalisation of agricultural imports from Australia. Easier work visas for UK and Australian citizens under 35. Enhanced cooperation on innovation, green energy, and digital trade. Opportunities. Open new markets for British exporters. Strengthened UK's Indo-Pacific footprint, a key region for the UK's tilt in foreign policy. Demonstrated the UK's ability to strike comprehensive deals outside the EU framework. Challenges. Criticism from UK farmers fearing competition from lower-cost Australian meat. Modest projected impact on GDP, estimated 0.08% long-term gain. Public concern over agricultural and animal welfare standards. Outcome. The UK-Australia deal acted as a foundation for our accession to the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP. It also sent a strong signal that the UK remains open for business, committed to liberal trade, and capable of forming equitable international agreements. Path forward: a strategic trade vision. To thrive post-Brexit, the UK must 1. Deepen trade with emerging markets. Finalise FTA with India and explore deals in Africa and Latin America. Use our aid, education, and cultural links to strengthen ties. 2. Enhance UK-EU economic relations without rejoining the single market. Smooth border procedures. Expand mutual recognition for services and professional qualifications. 3. Lead on sustainable trade. Incentivize green goods and services. Embed net zero commitments into FTAs. 4. Champion rules-based trade. Defend the global trade system in an era of rising protectionism. Partner with like-minded countries to modernize global trade rules. Conclusion. The post-Brexit era is not without its complexities, but it is filled with potential. the UK can forge a truly independent, ethical, and future-facing trade policy that reflects both our interests and our values. Our task now is not simply to react to the world, but to shape it. Through active diplomacy, smarter trade, and responsible leadership, Britain can, and must, reaffirm its place as a confident, outward-looking force for good. Chapter 9: Climate Leadership and Global Responsibility. Case Study: the UK's COP26 Presidency, Impact and Challenges. Introduction: The Climate Crossroads. Climate change is the defining global challenge of our era. From unprecedented floods in England to prolonged droughts across the developing world, the UK cannot view climate leadership as optional. It is our moral responsibility and a strategic opportunity to lead by example, create green jobs, and ensure a sustainable future for generations to come. The UK has made bold commitments: net zero by 2050, coal phase-out, investment in offshore wind, and hosting the COP26 summit in Glasgow. But commitment alone is not enough. We need implementation, resilience, and international collaboration. This chapter outlines practical policies for UK climate leadership at home and abroad, and reflects on our experience as the host of COP26 to draw actionable lessons for future strategy. 1. The UK's climate legacy and future commitments. The United Kingdom was the first major economy to legislate a net zero target by 2050. Since 1990, we have cut emissions by nearly 50%, a rate faster than any other G7 nation, while growing our economy. But we cannot rest. Our future climate priorities include decarbonizing key sectors: transport, housing, agriculture, and industry. Accelerating renewable energy deployment: wind, solar, hydrogen. Enhancing nature-based solutions: reforestation, peatland restoration, biodiversity protection. Enabling a just transition, ensuring green growth is fair and benefits all regions. 2. COP26, a turning point for the UK and the world. The COP26 summit, held in Glasgow in November 2021, was the largest diplomatic gathering ever hosted in the UK. It marked a critical juncture in the global climate agenda, and the UK's role was pivotal in securing the Glasgow Climate Pact, which committed nearly 200 countries to revisit and strengthen their emissions targets. Driving progress on coal, over 40 countries pledged to phase out coal power. Boosting climate finance, developed nations reaffirmed the $100 billion annual climate finance goal. Advancing adaptation and loss and damage talks, putting vulnerable countries at the heart of the agenda. However, challenges remained. The lack of binding enforcement mechanisms, slow delivery of climate finance, and differing national interests constrained the speed of global progress. 3. Practical domestic climate solutions. A. Energy transition. Offshore wind: UK leads the world, with plans to reach 50 gigawatts by 2030. Hydrogen strategy: scaling clean hydrogen as a future fuel. Nuclear: new investments in small modular reactors to complement renewables. B. Greening homes. Boiler upgrade scheme, supporting households in moving to heat pumps. Energy efficiency grants, retrofitting public and private buildings to cut energy use and bills. C. Green transport. EV infrastructure, investing in 300,000 public EV chargers by 2030. Public transport modernization, electrification of rail lines and zero-emission buses. Active travel, £2 billion committed to cycling and walking infrastructure. 4. International climate diplomacy. Leadership extends beyond borders. Our responsibilities include climate finance, meeting and exceeding our share of the $100 billion commitment. Support for adaptation, helping vulnerable nations build resilience to floods, droughts, and rising seas. Green trade, promoting low-carbon products and environmental standards in UK trade deals. Technology transfer, partnering with developing nations to share green innovations. 5. Engaging communities and industry. Our climate goals will only succeed if they are inclusive. Citizens' climate assemblies, directly engaging the public in climate decision-making. Green jobs strategy, supporting reskilling in fossil fuel communities through apprenticeships and training. Private sector partnerships, incentivizing clean innovation through contracts for difference, carbon pricing, and regulatory clarity. 6. Monitoring and accountability. Office for Environmental Protection, OEP, independent oversight of environmental law compliance. Carbon budgets, legally binding targets that guide UK emissions reductions every 5 years. Transparency tools, public dashboards showing emissions progress and government spending. Case study, the UK's COP26 presidency, impact and challenges. Successes. United won 97 nations in one of the most challenging global negotiations. Focused attention on coal, forests, methane, and climate finance. Launched initiatives like the Glasgow Breakthroughs to accelerate innovation. Challenges. The final pact was watered down on fossil fuels due to last-minute objections. Disparities in North-South climate finance trust remain unresolved. Follow-through from pledges to practice remains a global issue. Lessons learned. Diplomacy matters, persistent engagement delivers results. Public expectations are high, people demand tangible progress. Domestic credibility is critical, you cannot lead globally if you lag locally. 7. Moving forward, the UK's role in a net zero world. To lead in the next decade, the UK must deliver on net zero strategy with urgency and fairness. Leverage financial and technological leadership to support developing nations. Integrate climate into all areas of policy, defence, health, trade, education. Maintain cross-party unity on long-term climate goals. Conclusion, our responsibility, our opportunity. Climate action is not just a global necessity, it is a national opportunity to lead, innovate, and prosper. Our legacy must be not only of pledges, but of progress. Let history say the UK did not hesitate, but led. Chapter 10. Restoring Trust in Politics. Case study, the 2023 lobbying scandals and ethics reforms. Introduction. In a healthy democracy, trust is not a luxury, it is a necessity. For decades, the United Kingdom has prided itself on strong institutions, rule of law, and stable governance. However, recent events, from lobbying scandals and party financing controversies to misleading political advertising and the rise of disinformation, have eroded public confidence in politics. This chapter addresses the growing democratic deficit and presents practical steps to rebuild trust in public life. The trust crisis, what's gone wrong? 1. Declining public confidence. Surveys from the early 2020s revealed a worrying trend. Fewer than 1 in 5 citizens believed that politicians act in the public interest. Voter turnout in local and European elections fell dramatically. Younger generations especially feel alienated, disengaged, and cynical about democratic institutions. 2. High-profile scandals. Several scandals, including the 2023 lobbying revelations involving MPs and private firms, fueled perceptions of a closed political class operating with impunity. Despite the existence of a ministerial code, enforcement mechanisms were perceived as weak or politically motivated. 3. Misinformation and digital influence. With the rapid spread of fake news, deepfakes, and unregulated political ads online, it has become harder for citizens to know whom or what to trust. The line between truth and narrative has blurred, leading to greater voter confusion and frustration. Case study, the 2023 lobbying scandals. Overview. In early 2023, a series of investigative reports revealed that several members of Parliament had received undeclared payments for facilitating private meetings with foreign investors and lobbying government departments without transparency. The revelations led to several resignations and an independent review. Impact. Cross-party outrage and public protests. Surge in support for reform bills. Temporary suspension of parliamentary committees. Decline in international rankings for governance transparency. Government response. Launch of an independent standards and ethics commissioner. Mandatory lobbying disclosure registry with real-time updates. Strengthening the ministerial code with statutory enforcement powers. banning second jobs for MPs related to lobbying or consultancy. Practical steps for democratic renewal. 1. Strengthening institutional oversight. Create a statutory ethics commission, independent from government, with investigative and enforcement powers over breaches of conduct. Reform the House of Lords, replace hereditary peerage with elected or merit-based appointments. Increase diversity and regional representation. 2. Transparency and accountability. Real-time financial disclosures, all MPs and ministers to declare donations, gifts, and outside earnings in real time on a public platform. Tighten lobbying rules, mandatory recording of all meetings with lobbyists, published monthly. Introduce recall reforms, make it easier for constituents to trigger by-elections when elected officials break the law or ethics rules. 3. Responsible digital governance. Regulate political advertising online, mandatory transparency labels on political ads, ban on foreign-funded campaign material. Combat disinformation, partner with social media companies to flag false content during election periods. Strengthen the Digital Safety Bill. 4. Civic and political education. Introduce civics curriculum in schools, teach students about democratic institutions, critical thinking, and media literacy from early secondary school. National Democracy Week, annual campaigns to encourage civic engagement, particularly among underrepresented groups. The role of political leadership. Trust is not built with words alone, it is rebuilt with consistent, visible action. Political leaders must lead by example. Adhering to standards, even when inconvenient. Refusing to tolerate misconduct within their own ranks. Committing to transparency, even under scrutiny. Engaging citizens not just at elections, but throughout their term. Leadership that listens, explains, and corrects course when necessary is the leadership that rebuilds trust. Conclusion: from cynicism to confidence. The future of the UK's democracy depends on restoring public faith in its institutions. That journey is not simple, nor is it short. But with clear rules, independent oversight, transparent processes, and ethical leadership, trust can be rebuilt, one decision, one reform, and one citizen at a time. Chapter 11: Devolution and National Unity. Introduction. The United Kingdom is a union of 4 nations with rich, distinct identities: England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, bound together by centuries of shared history, yet increasingly characterized by divergent political, economic, and cultural aspirations. In recent years, these differences have become more pronounced, as regions seek greater autonomy while maintaining the benefits of union. This chapter addresses one of the most pressing and delicate challenges facing modern British governance: how to strengthen the union while embracing the demands for devolution, regional empowerment, and respect for national identity. The devolution settlement, achievements and strains. Devolution has delivered tangible benefits to local governance across the UK. Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland have developed distinct policies in health, education, and transport. Metro mayors and devolved city regions in England have revitalised local leadership. But strains have emerged. In Scotland, the Scottish Government continues to push for a second independence referendum. In Northern Ireland, political stalemates over post-Brexit arrangements have periodically suspended power sharing. In Wales, calls for further devolution, even independence, are gaining limited but noticeable traction. Within England, the north-south divide remains pronounced, with rural and post-industrial communities often feeling left behind. Core challenge: the union of unequal power and voice. The current structure leaves important constitutional questions unresolved. Why does England, the largest nation, lack a devolved parliament? How can we create a system that offers greater regional empowerment without creating fragmentation? How do we honour local democratic will while preserving national unity? A practical response, for pillars of union renewal. 1. Deepening devolution, responsibly. Rather than resisting devolution, the UK government should embrace a strategy of responsible devolution based on clear frameworks. Greater fiscal powers for devolved governments to raise and spend funds. More autonomy for metro mayors and combined authorities in England. Enhanced intergovernmental mechanisms to manage UK-wide decisions. 2. A new constitutional compact. Establish a modernized constitutional convention to clarify the balance of powers between Westminster and devolved bodies. Review the operation of the Barnett Formula and shared governance. Explore the codification of a UK constitution or a written constitutional framework. 3. English regional empowerment. The imbalance within England must be corrected. Expand and strengthen devolved combined authorities, giving more local areas control over transport, skills, housing, and economic development. Support regional parliaments or assemblies where democratic appetite exists. 4. Celebrating shared identity and mutual respect. Unity is not uniformity. We must promote shared UK-wide cultural, sporting, and educational initiatives. Inclusive national symbols that reflect all parts of the UK. Clear respect for linguistic, historical, and cultural identities, e.g., support for Welsh language, Gaelic revival, and Ulster Scots. Case study: the Northern Ireland Protocol and Power Sharing Agreements. Background: the 2019 withdrawal agreement between the UK and EU introduced the Northern Ireland Protocol, designed to avoid a hard border on the island of Ireland. However, it created significant political tension by placing regulatory checks in the Irish Sea. Crisis and stalemate. This led to a collapse of the Stormont executive, with unionist parties refusing to participate in governance until changes were made. Government response. Renegotiated arrangements with the EU under the Windsor Framework, 2023, to reduce checks and improve trade flow. Renewed commitment to the Belfast Good Friday Agreement, ensuring power-sharing mechanisms remain central. Devolved a £3.3 billion funding package to support public services in Northern Ireland, tied to the restoration of institutions. Lessons learned. The importance of consulting all communities before implementing major constitutional changes. The need for flexible governance models in post-conflict and divided societies. The value of UK-EU cooperation in stabilizing devolved regions. Looking ahead, a union that works for all. To survive and thrive, the United Kingdom must evolve. Devolution should not be viewed as a threat but as a strength. By empowering regions while maintaining the benefits of collective sovereignty, we can build a more balanced, inclusive, and dynamic UK. The task ahead is to listen carefully, govern fairly, and lead boldly. Key takeaways. Devolution is a democratic reality that must be embraced with purpose and clarity. The UK needs a more structured and transparent constitutional framework. National unity can only be preserved through respect, equality, and local empowerment. The Northern Ireland experience shows how delicate but essential our Constitutional Balancing Act remains. Chapter 12: Housing the Nation, Solving the UK's Housing Crisis. Introduction. Few issues affect more people, more immediately, than housing. Whether you're a young professional priced out of your first home, a growing family stuck in temporary accommodation, or a pensioner unable to downsize, the housing crisis in the UK is not abstract, it is personal, widespread, and persistent. As Prime Minister, I recognise that decent, secure, and affordable housing is not merely a market good, it is a foundation of dignity, stability, and opportunity. This chapter lays out a clear path to tackling one of the UK's most entrenched challenges: how we house our nation in a fair, sustainable, and future-proof way. 1. The state of the crisis. Key challenges. Insufficient supply. For decades, the UK has failed to meet annual housing targets. Demand consistently outpaces supply. Affordability gap. House prices have outstripped wages, particularly in London and the South East. Planning delays. The planning system is slow, bureaucratic, and too often at odds with national needs. Homelessness and temporary accommodation. Over 100,000 households are in temporary housing. Decaying social housing stock, poor conditions and limited funding have weakened the social housing sector. 2. Principles for reform. Any serious solution must be guided by clear principles. Build more homes, faster, especially in areas of highest need. Improve quality and sustainability, ensuring homes are safe, green, and fit for future generations. Prioritize affordability, with targeted investment in social and affordable housing. Unlock land and simplify planning, while maintaining community trust. Support renters and first-time buyers, who are increasingly locked out of ownership. 3. Practical solutions, the government strategy. 8. Planning system reform. We are modernizing the planning system to be faster, digital, and responsive to local and national needs. Introduced zonal planning for pre-approved development areas. Digital planning tools to reduce delays and increase transparency. Fast-tracking brownfield site developments. BEAD affordable and social housing investment. Committed £11.5 billion through the Affordable Homes Programme, 2021 to 2026, to deliver up to 180,000 new homes. Gave local authorities greater powers to build council housing again. Introduced mandatory standards for energy efficiency, insulation, and accessibility in social homes. See Brownfield First policy. Reprioritizing brownfield land to reduce greenbelt pressure. Created a brownfield housing fund for cities like Liverpool, Manchester, and Birmingham. Deed right to rent, right to buy, but fairer. Retained right to buy, with safeguards to prevent abuse and reinvestment of proceeds into new stock. Piloted right to shared ownership for housing association tenants. Renter protections. Abolished Section 21 no-fault evictions as of 2025. Introduced a national landlord register and improved enforcement powers. Backed renters reform bill to rebalance rights between tenants and landlords. First-time buyer support. Expanded first home scheme with discounts up to 30%. Launch deposit unlock and lifetime ISAs to help young people save. 4. Local case study, West Midlands Housing Reform Pilot. Background. In 2023, the West Midlands Combined Authority, WMCA, launched a pilot to demonstrate how devolved powers, innovative financing, and public-private collaboration could deliver rapid housing gains without sacrificing community voice or environmental standards. Key features? A target of 20,000 new homes by 2025, 40% of which are affordable. Streamlined planning through a mayoral development corporation, reducing application times by 60%. Use of modular housing and repurposed commercial space to accelerate delivery. Active involvement of housing associations, universities, and tech firms. Investment in local apprenticeships and trades, creating over 4,000 construction jobs. Results, as of mid-2025. Over 13,500 homes completed or under construction. Brownfield land redeveloped, cutting urban sprawl. Positive public reception due to visible progress and inclusive consultation. This pilot model is now being adapted for Greater Manchester, Teesside, and Bristol. 5. Long-term vision, building a housing system that works for all. Housing must not be treated as a short-term political battleground. We need a national consensus on building the homes we need, where we need them, without leaving anyone behind. Our commitments. A 10-year national housing strategy, updated annually. Empowered local housing partnerships to align national goals with local delivery. A green housing standard for all new builds by 2030. Regular audits of housing needs and homelessness, with action plans tied to funding. Conclusion. The UK's housing crisis has been decades in the making. But the solutions are within our grasp. Through decisive reform, cross-sector cooperation, and sustained investment, we can restore the fundamental promise of a safe and affordable home for every citizen. Let us build not just houses, but stronger communities, more equal cities, and a nation where everyone has a place to call home. Chapter 13, Transforming UK Transport Systems. Case study, Greater Manchester's Integrated Transport Plan. Introduction. Transport is the circulatory system of the nation. When it flows efficiently, it stimulates economic activity, reduces regional disparities, and improves quality of life. But for too long, the UK's transport system has been defined by fragmentation, underinvestment, and regional imbalance. This chapter outlines the practical steps we are taking to modernize our transport systems, rail, road, air, and urban mobility, while ensuring they are greener, more accessible, and more integrated. The challenge: a system under strain. Despite world-class talent in engineering and infrastructure, our transport systems have historically faced persistent challenges. Overcrowded and delayed trains, especially in the north and commuter belts. Disjointed local services lacking connectivity between buses, rail, and active transport options. Unequal investment, with London and the South East receiving disproportionate per capita funding. Emissions, with transport contributing nearly 25% of the UK's total greenhouse gas output. Digital lag, with many networks lacking smart ticketing or real-time data integration. The public expect more than occasional upgrades, they expect systems that reflect the 21st century. The vision: a connected, clean and future-proof network. Our vision is a nationally connected but locally driven transport system, focused on the following pillars. 1. Integration, seamless connections between bus, rail, cycling, and walking routes. 2. Decarbonization, electrifying rail, investing in EV infrastructure, and supporting low-emission public transport. 3. Affordability and accessibility, keeping costs fair and services inclusive for rural and disabled users. 4. Innovation, leveraging data, AI, and green technology for smarter infrastructure. Policy commitments and practical solutions. 1. Empowering local authorities. We are rolling out enhanced devolution deals, enabling metro mayors and councils to take control of local transport budgets and planning. What worked for London must work for Leeds, Liverpool, and beyond. Bus franchising powers are being extended. Multimodal ticketing systems are being co-funded in urban centres. Funding is contingent on inclusive design and long-term planning. 2. Delivering Northern Powerhouse Rail. We remain committed to transformational east-west links across the north. While HS2 required rescoping, our focus is now laser-sharp on high-impact, deliverable improvements. Upgraded TransPennine lines. New digital signalling systems. Reduced journey times between Manchester, Leeds, Sheffield, and Hull. 3. Backing zero-emission transport. We are investing over £4 billion in electric buses, including hydrogen-powered pilots in Glasgow and Birmingham. EV charging infrastructure, prioritizing motorways and underserved regions. Active travel, with 1,800 miles of new cycling infrastructure being developed. 4. Digital transformation. We are supporting contactless payment across all modes in major cities. Real-time tracking and planning apps. AI-enabled predictive maintenance on rail and road networks. Case study: Greater Manchester's Integrated Transport Plan. Greater Manchester offers a blueprint for locally driven transport reform. Under the B network, the region is bringing together buses, trams, cycling and walking under a single, publicly accountable brand. Key achievements. Bus franchising launched in 2023, reducing fares and simplifying ticketing. Tram extensions connected underserved suburbs. Investment in safe cycling routes increased ridership by over 40% in 2 years. A pilot mobility as a service, MaaS, app integrates planning, payment, and sustainability feedback into one platform. Lessons learned. Public support is strongest when improvements are visible and immediate. Integration drives usage. When buses and trams are synchronized, journeys become viable alternatives to cars. Local leadership with clear accountability outperforms centralized mandates. Delivering for the future. Modernizing transport is not a luxury, it is the foundation of a prosperous, mobile, and green economy. Our commitment is to unlock stalled projects through smart funding models and regulatory reform. Build a transport network that connects all parts of our nation. Put people first, whether they commute, cycle, travel for healthcare, or drive a delivery van. It is only by moving better that we can live better and truly unite the United Kingdom through connected opportunity. Certainly. Here's a draft of Chapter 14 from your book, written in the tone of a practical guide from a Prime Minister's perspective, including insights, strategies, and a detailed case study. Chapter 14: Boosting Regional Growth Through Smart Infrastructure. Case Study: Teesside Freeport and Local Economic Transformation. Introduction: A nation built on balanced growth. If the United Kingdom is to remain competitive and cohesive in the 21st century, it must address the stark economic disparities between regions. For too long, London and the South East have outpaced other parts of the country in investment, innovation, and infrastructure. This imbalance has not only hindered productivity but also weakened national unity. Levelling up is not simply a political slogan, it is an economic and moral necessity. In this chapter, I will outline how smart infrastructure investment is key to unlocking regional growth, driving job creation, and ensuring prosperity is shared more fairly across the nation. Understanding the challenge. 1. The infrastructure gap. The UK's infrastructure investment has historically been concentrated in a few regions, leaving others with aging transport systems, poor digital connectivity, and limited access to global markets. This has created slower economic growth in the North and Midlands, barriers for businesses and inward investment, frustration and disconnection among communities. 2. Underutilised potential. Regions like Teesside, Liverpool, South Wales, and parts of Scotland possess strong industrial legacies, skilled workforces, untapped ports, land, and innovation corridors. What they lack is the catalytic infrastructure that encourages new industries to thrive: transport links, energy networks, digital connectivity, and investment incentives. A smart infrastructure approach. Our strategy focuses on delivering infrastructure that is place-based, tailored to local economic strengths; sustainable, supporting green transition goals; integrated, connecting housing, transport, energy, and digital systems; catalytic, designed to unlock private investment and long-term growth. Key policy interventions. 1. Free ports and investment zones. Tax incentives, simplified customs, and regulatory flexibilities. Cluster-based models encouraging advanced manufacturing and clean energy. 2. Regional infrastructure funding. Multi-year, devolved funding packages for city regions and counties. Combined authorities empowered to set priorities and drive delivery. 3. Digital backbone expansion. Nationwide full fibre broadband and 5G by 2030. Rural connectivity grants and public-private co-investment models. 4. Green industrial corridors. Hydrogen hubs, offshore wind ports, carbon capture clusters. Investment in electric vehicle, EV, charging and sustainable freight systems. Case study: Teesside Freeport and Local Economic Transformation. Background. Teesside has long been associated with heavy industry, especially steelmaking and chemicals. When SSI Steelworks closed in 2015, it left a major economic and psychological gap. Local leadership, working in partnership with government, turned challenge into opportunity. What was done? Creation of Teesside Freeport, 2021, the UK's first and largest freeport. Incentives, tax reliefs, business rate retention, customs flexibility. Investment, £200+ million in government seed funding and over £1.5 billion in private investment commitments. Sectors targeted: hydrogen production, offshore wind components, carbon capture and storage, CCS, green aviation fuel. Skills development, partnership with Teesside University and local colleges to upskill workers for new industries. Outcomes: thousands of new jobs created and safeguarded. Local SME growth due to supplier opportunities. Major firms, e.g. BP, GE, Net Zero Teesside, establishing operations. Regeneration of brownfield land into an industrial powerhouse. Rising optimism and confidence in the region's future. Lessons for other regions. Local leadership matters. The success of Teesside was led by a committed mayor and local councils working with government. Speed and simplicity encourage investment, reducing red tape and providing certainty attracted global investors. Skills and infrastructure go hand in hand. Physical investment must be matched with human capital development. Narrative is powerful. Rebranding Teesside as a green industrial powerhouse helped attract capital and talent. National implications and next steps. To replicate and scale this success, the UK must 1. Expand Freeport and investment zone models based on local assets, e.g. Mersey, Humber, South Wales, Grangemouth. 2. Devolve infrastructure decisions further to regional and metro authorities. 3. Embed green priorities in all major infrastructure investments. 4. Ensure long-term stability of funding and planning to maintain investor confidence. 5. Promote regional exports through better access to global trade routes and digital platforms. Conclusion: building the foundations for a balanced United Kingdom. Smart infrastructure is the foundation upon which inclusive and resilient regional economies are built. When targeted, coordinated, and code-signed with communities, it unlocks potential, restores pride, and strengthens the entire nation. Teesside is a model, not a one-off. With vision, investment, and trust in local leadership, we can ensure that every region, from Cornwall to Cumbria, has the tools to thrive in the economy of tomorrow. Chapter 15: Digital Britain, Leading in a Tech-Driven World. Case Study: UK's AI Regulation White Paper and Implementation Strategy. Introduction: The Digital Tipping Point. The United Kingdom stands at a crucial crossroads: embrace and lead the digital revolution, or fall behind. Technology is not just reshaping how we communicate, shop, and work, it is redefining governance, defense, healthcare, finance, and democracy itself. In an era dominated by artificial intelligence, big data, and digital infrastructure, our ability to adapt, innovate, and protect will determine our economic competitiveness and societal well-being. Digital Britain is more than a slogan, it must be a strategic national priority. This chapter outlines the practical steps to ensure the UK becomes a digital powerhouse, grounded in public trust and inclusive access. 1. The state of play, opportunities and challenges. Opportunities. Global tech leadership in AI, fintech, quantum computing, and health tech. A world-class research ecosystem and strong startup culture. Tech-friendly regulatory environment, post-Brexit agility. Challenges. Digital exclusion and regional disparities in broadband access. Cybersecurity threats and data misuse. Shortage of digital skills in key sectors. The need for trustworthy, ethical AI deployment. 2. Closing the digital divide. Digital inequality remains a barrier to economic opportunity and social inclusion. Rural and low-income communities continue to experience poor connectivity or limited access to digital services. Practical actions. Universal full fiber and 5G access by 2030, working with providers to accelerate rollout across rural and underserved regions. Digital Inclusion Fund, targeted support for households to access affordable devices and connectivity. National Digital Literacy Program, delivered via libraries, schools, and job centers, with tailored support for older adults and low-income families. 3. Investing in future-proof digital infrastructure. Infrastructure must underpin innovation. The UK must shift from being a digital user to a digital builder. Practical actions. Smart infrastructure grants, incentives for local authorities to deploy smart traffic systems, IoT public services, and energy-efficient tech. Public sector cloud transition, mandate cloud-based systems across central and local government by 2028 to improve efficiency and data resilience. Cyber resilience standards, compulsory cybersecurity protocols for all public procurement. 4. Ethical and responsible AI leadership. The UK has the potential to lead globally in the governance of artificial intelligence, striking a balance between innovation and ethics. Practical actions. AI Regulation Sandbox, a flexible regulatory environment to test new AI systems with built-in accountability mechanisms. National AI Ethics Board, a cross-sector body to develop guidelines on bias, transparency, and data use. Public AI Literacy Campaign, demystifying AI through education, public consultations, and interactive tools. Case study, UK's AI Regulation White Paper and Implementation Strategy. In 2023, the government published its AI Regulation White Paper, opting for a pro-innovation, light-touch framework that empowers sector-specific regulators, e.g., healthcare, finance, rather than a centralized authority. Key outcomes: promoted flexibility and speed in AI deployment across different industries. Engaged leading UK universities in monitoring algorithmic bias. Attracted global investment by positioning the UK as a safe and dynamic AI hub. Lessons learned: clarity and trust are key to public and business confidence. Regulation must keep pace with technology. Collaboration with industry, academia, and civil society is vital. 5. Digital skills for the workforce of tomorrow. As automation disrupts traditional roles, the UK must upskill its workforce to thrive in a data-driven economy. Practical actions: National Digital Apprenticeship Scheme, expanding placements in AI, data science, software development, and cybersecurity. Tech talent bootcamps, fast-track digital reskilling programs linked to regional employment needs. Digital curriculum in schools, embedding coding, computational thinking, and data literacy from early education. 6. Regulating the digital economy, platform power and consumer protection. Big tech dominance raises important questions about market fairness, online harms, and digital rights. Practical actions: Digital Markets Unit, DMU, empowerment, granting enforcement powers to challenge anti-competitive behavior by tech giants. Online Safety Act implementation, enforcing content moderation standards to protect children and vulnerable users. Data ownership reform, empowering individuals to control how their personal data is used and monetized. Conclusion: building trust in the digital future. Digital transformation must serve the people. This means technology governed with integrity, inclusive access, and shared prosperity. The UK's approach must be pragmatic and visionary, anchored in strong infrastructure, agile regulation, and investment in people. To lead in a tech-driven world, we must ensure Digital Britain is not just a technological upgrade, but a societal leap forward. Chapter 16: Science, Research, and Innovation Leadership. Case study: the Oxford-Cambridge Innovation Arc. Introduction. The United Kingdom has long been a global leader in scientific discovery and technological advancement, from the Industrial Revolution to the development of the World Wide Web. Today, in an increasingly competitive and innovation-driven world, reaffirming this leadership is not a luxury but a necessity. Our national resilience, economic competitiveness, and global influence all hinge on our ability to lead in science, research, and innovation, SRI. This chapter outlines how the UK can enhance its innovation ecosystem, strengthen public-private collaboration, and convert world-class research into national and global impact. The state of UK science and innovation. The UK is home to 4 of the world's top 10 universities, boasts strong R&D capacity, and contributes disproportionately to global scientific output. Yet despite these strengths, we face several pressing challenges. Declining share of global R&D investment. Brain drain of top researchers to the US and Europe. Fragmented innovation pathways from lab to market. Uncertainty post-Brexit regarding EU research programs, e.g., Horizon Europe. The challenge is not a lack of talent or ideas. It is how to systematically support, scale, and apply those ideas for national prosperity. Strategic goals. 1. Make the UK the best place in the world to do science. 2. Bridge the gap between academic research and commercial application. 3. Retain and attract top global talent. 4. Use science to solve national challenges, from climate to health to defense. 5. Ensure every region benefits from innovation growth. Government Action Plan. 1. Increase R&D spending to 3% of GDP. The government has committed to increasing public R&D investment to £20 billion per year by 2025. Matching this with private sector confidence and investment is critical. The target: raise total R&D spending, public plus private, to 3% of GDP, aligned with leading OECD nations. 2. Secure global talent. We must position the UK as the destination for scientists, engineers, and innovators. Actions include expanding the Global Talent Visa, fast-tracking research visa routes, funding early career researcher fellowships. 3. Establish regional innovation hubs. Innovation should not be London-centric. We're supporting regional R&D clusters by creating innovation zones tied to universities, providing matched grants to local tech partnerships, investing in advanced manufacturing hubs in the North and Midlands. 4. Commercialize breakthrough research. The UK underperforms in turning research into scalable companies. We're addressing this through strengthening university tech transfer offices, launching a national IP acceleration fund, supporting venture capital access for spin-outs. 5. Rebuild global research networks. While our departure from the EU changed some dynamics, the UK remains a collaborative powerhouse. We're rejoining Horizon Europe under new UK terms, expanding partnerships with the US, Australia, Japan, and Canada, strengthening the Commonwealth Scientific Collaboration Initiative. Case study: the Oxford-Cambridge Innovation Arc. The Oxford-Cambridge Arc is an illustrative example of what can be achieved when academia, business, and government collaborate strategically. Highlights: home to over 50,000 researchers and scientists. Hosted the development of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. Generated £30 billion in economic value annually. Over 3,000 tech startups spun out in the last decade. Key success factors: world-class universities with strong research funding, proximity to London-based investors, government investment in infrastructure and housing, active public-private partnerships, e.g., Innovate UK. Challenges faced: housing affordability for researchers and tech workers, transport bottlenecks between Oxford, Milton Keynes, and Cambridge, planning delays in infrastructure development. Next steps: the government is working to formally designate the ARC as a national innovation growth zone, with bespoke planning powers, investment incentives, and infrastructure prioritization. Innovation for national challenges. We must harness UK science to directly address urgent challenges. Green tech and net zero, e.g., carbon capture, battery storage. Healthcare innovation, personalized medicine, digital diagnostics. Food and agriculture, lab-grown protein, vertical farming. Defense tech, quantum computing, drone autonomy, AI warfare. We are establishing grand challenge innovation missions aligned to each area, with public-private investment and national coordination. Conclusion: laying the foundation for the next century. Science and innovation must not be seen as niche or elite, they are central to national strength. With bold investment, long-term commitment, and the right policy environment, we can make the UK the go-to country for global problem-solving through innovation. We are not merely investing in research. We are investing in sovereignty, opportunity, and prosperity. Key takeaways: science and innovation are core to UK economic and strategic leadership. Investment, talent attraction, and commercialization must be pursued in parallel. Regional innovation ecosystems must be prioritized to spread prosperity. The Oxford-Cambridge Arc serves as a scalable model for innovation-led growth. Chapter 17: National Defence and Security in an Uncertain World. Case study: the UK's role in NATO post-Ukraine war. Introduction. The global security landscape has become increasingly volatile. From conventional threats to hybrid warfare, the United Kingdom must constantly adapt its defence and security strategies to maintain its sovereignty, protect its interests, and support international peace. In this chapter, we will examine the UK's evolving defence strategy, analyse real-world applications through the lens of NATO post-Ukraine, and outline practical reforms to secure Britain in the 21st century. The modern threat environment. In today's world, threats to national security are no longer confined to battlefields. The UK faces hybrid warfare, cyber attacks, disinformation, economic coercion. State-based threats, Russia, China, Iran. Non-state actors, terror groups, organized crime networks. Emerging technologies, AI-driven warfare, drones, autonomous weapons. Climate-related conflicts, resource scarcity, population displacement. The need to modernize and future-proof UK defence has never been more urgent. Strategic priorities for UK defence. 1. Defence spending and modernisation. The UK remains one of the few NATO countries exceeding the 2% GDP defence spending threshold. But spending alone isn't enough, funds must be strategically invested in modernising the armed forces with AI, drones, and cyber capabilities. Upgrading nuclear deterrence via the Trident programme. Improving interoperability with NATO and allied systems. 2. Strengthening cyber defence. Cybersecurity is now as critical as traditional military assets. The UK's National Cyber Force, NCF, must be expanded. Critical infrastructure, including energy and transport, needs fortified cyber protections. Government and private sector collaboration must be enhanced to counter ransomware and foreign digital espionage. 3. Integrated Security Doctrine. The Integrated Review Refresh, 2023, acknowledged the UK must become more robust, resilient, and responsive. This includes closer alignment between diplomacy, defence, and development. Increased intelligence collaboration with the Five Eyes network. Preparedness for domestic threats including terrorism, pandemics, and civil disruption. Food supply chain and energy security. Russia's invasion of Ukraine highlighted the dangers of dependence on hostile powers for energy and critical materials. The UK must diversify defence supply chains. Increase domestic energy security. Create strategic reserves of critical raw materials. Case study, the UK's role in NATO post-Ukraine war. The war in Ukraine marked a watershed moment for NATO and UK defence strategy. The UK responded decisively by sending billions in military aid to Ukraine, training over 30,000 Ukrainian soldiers through Operation Interflex, stationing troops in Estonia and Poland as part of NATO enhanced forward presence, providing intelligence support and cyber defence expertise to allies. Lessons learned. Speed of response matters. UK's early leadership set a diplomatic tone within NATO. Modern warfare needs adaptive strategy, artillery, drones, electronic warfare, and cyber tools proved essential. Strategic partnerships are crucial. Cooperation with Finland, Sweden, and Baltic states proved vital in deterring Russian aggression. As NATO expands and evolves, the UK must continue to lead as both a military contributor and strategic policymaker. Defence and the UK public. Public understanding and support for national defence are crucial. More investment in veteran care, mental health, and re-entry into civilian life. Education and recruitment campaigns to boost public trust in the armed forces. A reimagined national resilience strategy that includes civil defence, emergency planning, and youth engagement, e.g. cadet programs. Recommendations and practical actions. 1. Increase defence R&D investment, prioritise next-generation tech, AI, and quantum computing. 2. Reinforce cyber infrastructure, mandate cybersecurity standards across sectors. 3. Expand international defence partnerships, beyond NATO, with Indo-Pacific allies, African nations, and ASEAN. 4. Strengthen domestic defence manufacturing, reshore production of critical defence components. 5. Institutionalize whole-of-society resilience, link civil defence, emergency preparedness, and infrastructure protection under a unified strategy. Conclusion. National defence in the 21st century extends beyond tanks and troops. It is about foresight, adaptability, resilience, and integration. The United Kingdom must invest not just in weapons, but in people, partnerships, and preparedness. By learning from recent conflicts and modernising our systems, we ensure that Britain remains strong, secure, and influential in a rapidly changing world. Chapter 18: Youth, Opportunity, and Civic Engagement. Case study, National Citizen Service and Youth Hubs in Birmingham. Introduction. The youth of the United Kingdom are not only its future but also its present. However, too many young people today feel disconnected from society, disenfranchised from politics, and uncertain about their futures. This chapter addresses the complex challenges facing young people, from mental health to unemployment, from digital overload to civic disengagement, and lays out practical strategies to ensure they are empowered, skilled, and heard. The challenge: a generation at a crossroads. Mental health crisis. An estimated 1 in 6 young people aged 6 to 16 had a probable mental health condition in 2023, a figure exacerbated by social media, economic instability, and academic pressure. Youth unemployment. Although overall unemployment has fallen, young people, particularly in marginalized communities, continue to face barriers to meaningful, stable work. Skills gap. Many young people are leaving education without the digital, social, or vocational skills needed for the modern workplace. Civic disengagement. Less than 40% of 18-24-year-olds voted in the last general election. Political apathy and distrust are at worrying levels. The government strategy: empower, equip, engage. Our national approach is based on 3 core principles. 1. Empower young people to lead change and make their voices heard. 2. Equip them with the practical, emotional, and digital skills they need. 3. Engage them in the life of the country, from community action to democracy. Policy actions and practical solutions. 1. National Youth Guarantee. We introduced a youth guarantee for every 16-24-year-old. A place in education, training, or work within 4 months of leaving school or becoming unemployed. Expansion of apprenticeships and vocational programs, especially in green, digital, and care sectors. 2. Investment in youth mental health hubs. Community-based hubs offering early mental health support without the need for a GP referral. Funding for peer-led support groups and school-based mental health teams. Digital tools for mental health awareness, integrated into PSHE curriculum. 3. Reform and expansion of the National Citizen Service, NCS. Redesigned to be more inclusive, year-round, and accessible for disadvantaged youth. Stronger emphasis on leadership, climate awareness, and local volunteering. Partnerships with local authorities and charities to embed NCS in communities. 4. Youth advisory councils in every region. Each council includes diverse young voices advising local leaders on decisions that affect them. National Youth Cabinet established to meet quarterly with ministers. 5. Digital Skills for Life program. Free digital literacy courses for school leavers and job seekers. Focus on cybersecurity, AI awareness, and ethical online behavior. Delivered through libraries, job centers, and youth hubs. 6. Youth voter engagement and democratic education. Pilot program in secondary schools and colleges teaching how to vote, how Parliament works, and critical media literacy. Voter registration drives led by trusted youth ambassadors. Case study, National Citizen Service and Youth Hubs in Birmingham. In Birmingham, the expansion of youth hubs, in partnership with schools, local charities, and mental health providers, has significantly improved access to support and services for young people. Outcome: over 12,000 young people engaged in 2024, with 85% reporting improved well-being and confidence. NCS Local Impact, new year-round NCS program in the West Midlands gave over 3,000 young people access to community leadership training and employment workshops. Civic engagement, Birmingham's Youth Advisory Council contributed to transport policy reforms affecting school routes. This success story demonstrates what happens when government, local communities, and young people collaborate around shared purpose and respect. Metrics of success. To ensure accountability, the following metrics are tracked. Youth unemployment rate, target, less than 8%. Access to mental health support within 4 weeks. Youth voter registration and turnout. NCS participation numbers. Number of active youth advisory councils. Looking ahead. The UK must treat investment in young people not as a cost but as a strategic necessity. A connected, confident, and capable generation is the greatest insurance policy for a stable and prosperous nation. By equipping young people today, we secure the democratic, economic, and social foundations of tomorrow. Call to action. Every leader, policymaker, employer, and educator must ask, are we truly listening to young people? This chapter is a blueprint for saying yes, not just in words, but in action. Chapter 19, To Healthier Nation, Wellbeing Beyond the NHS. Health is not merely the absence of disease, but the presence of physical, mental, and social well-being. Introduction. The National Health Service, NHS, has been a cornerstone of British identity for over 7 decades. Yet in recent years, it has become clear that a reactive, illness-focused system alone cannot support a population facing 21st century health challenges. Rising mental health issues, preventable chronic conditions, social isolation, and an aging demographic demand a broader approach. This chapter sets out practical strategies to build a healthier nation, not solely by treating illness, but by fostering well-being. It explores how we can integrate health and social care, invest in mental health, promote prevention, and make communities part of the solution. The challenges at a glance. 1. Overburdened NHS services. Waiting lists at record highs. Difficulty recruiting and retaining staff. Reactive rather than preventative focus. 2. Mental health crisis. 1 in 4 people in the UK experience a mental health problem each year. Young people and low-income groups disproportionately affected. 3. Aging population. Increased demand for social care. Rising costs and strain on unpaid carers. 4. Lifestyle-related conditions. Obesity, diabetes, heart disease on the rise. Preventable, yet costly to treat. 5. Social determinants of health. Poor housing, loneliness, food insecurity all directly impact health outcomes. Strategic priorities for a healthier nation. 1. Integrated health and social care. Practical action. Expand integrated care systems, ICS, across all regions. Invest in training and digital infrastructure to support collaboration between hospitals, GPS, community services, and social care. Shift funding models to reward prevention and early intervention. Why it matters. A fragmented system leads to duplication, delays, and frustration. Integration allows for holistic care, treating people, not just conditions. 2. Mental health at the heart of public health. Practical action. Establish 24/7 mental health hubs in every community. Ensure mental health is embedded in schools, workplaces, and digital services. Expand access to talking therapies and crisis response units. Why it matters. Mental health must be treated with parity to physical health. Early intervention saves lives and reduces long-term NHS demand. 3. Social prescribing and community care models. Practical action. Scale up social prescribing nationwide via GPS and health workers. Fund partnerships with community groups, arts organizations, fitness providers, and charities. Train link workers in every primary care network. Why it matters. Many health issues have social roots. A gym class, gardening group, or debt counseling may be more effective than a prescription. 4. Prevention First Public Health Strategy. Practical action. Launch a national prevention plan focused on nutrition, exercise, smoking cessation, and alcohol moderation. Introduce targeted local health campaigns in high-risk areas. Incentivize employers and councils to create healthier environments. Why it matters. Every £1 spent on prevention saves the NHS £4 later. The long-term payoff is healthier, more resilient communities. 5. Care for the aging population. Practical action. Increase funding for ATHM care and support for unpaid carers. Introduce new models of assisted living, co-housing, and tech-enabled care. Reform care worker pay and conditions to ensure workforce stability. Why it matters. Our elderly population deserves dignity and independence. A reimagined social care system can make that possible. Case study: NHS social prescribing pilot schemes. In 2019, the NHS launched a national programme to support social prescribing in England, aiming to reduce GP appointments and improve patient well-being. One example, in Bristol, local GPS partnered with community organisations to refer patients suffering from isolation, mild depression, or long-term conditions to non-clinical services, gardening clubs, art classes, walking groups, and debt counselling. Outcomes included: 28% reduction in GP appointments, improved patient-reported well-being, stronger ties between healthcare and community services. Lesson: health doesn't always come from medicine. Often, it comes from human connection, purpose, and empowerment. The role of local authorities and citizens. Health improvement cannot be delivered by the NHS alone. Local governments, employers, charities, and individuals all have a role. Councils must embed health in housing, transport, and economic policy. Schools should promote mental fitness and nutrition from early years. Citizens must be empowered to take ownership of their own health. Conclusion: a national culture of well-being. To become a truly healthier nation, we must change how we think about health. Not as a crisis to be managed by hospitals, but as a lifelong state of well-being, shaped by our homes, jobs, relationships, and environment. Through integrated care, mental health support, community-driven interventions, and a preventative mindset, we can create a UK where health is not just treated, but cultivated. Key takeaways: prevention is more cost-effective than treatment. Mental and social well-being are inseparable from physical health. Community-based models like social prescribing are effective and scalable. A whole-society approach is essential for long-term change. Chapter 20: Arts, Culture, and National Identity. Case study: the UK City of Culture Programme, Hull and Coventry. Introduction. Arts and culture are not peripheral to society, they are central to its health, cohesion, and identity. In the United Kingdom, a nation with a globally recognised cultural legacy, the creative industries serve as both an economic engine and a mirror to the collective national consciousness. From Shakespeare to Stormzy, from the Royal Opera House to street art in Manchester, culture helps us understand who we are and how we relate to each other. This chapter examines the strategic importance of culture in shaping national identity, outlines the practical role of government in supporting the sector, and presents the UK City of Culture programme as a model for cultural regeneration. The challenge. The UK's cultural sector faces several interlinked challenges. After years of austerity, public funding for arts and heritage was sharply reduced in many regions. The COVID-19 pandemic further weakened the sector, forcing venues to close and decimating freelance creative work. Additionally, culture in the UK has at times reflected and reinforced regional and class disparities. Much of the investment has remained concentrated in London and the South East, leaving other areas under-resourced. Furthermore, the country continues to grapple with questions of identity, national, regional, and individual. As the UK navigates a post-Brexit and increasingly multicultural era, culture has a key role to play in shaping a common sense of belonging. Why arts and culture matter. Economic contribution. The creative industries contribute more than £115 billion annually to the UK economy and employ over 2 million people. Global influence. British music, literature, film, and design are exported worldwide, enhancing the UK's soft power and international reputation. Social cohesion. Community-based cultural activity strengthens local identity, reduces isolation, and increases civic pride. Education and well-being. Arts engagement boosts cognitive development in young people and contributes positively to mental health. Regional growth. Cultural institutions can anchor urban regeneration, attract tourism, and stimulate local enterprise. Government strategic objectives. To strengthen arts and culture across the United Kingdom, the government has adopted 5 key strategic objectives. 1. Expand access and participation. Support regional cultural venues and institutions through targeted investment. Create inclusive opportunities for engagement in both urban and rural communities. 2. Rebalance cultural investment across regions. Increase public funding for cultural projects outside of London. Use culture as a pillar of the broader levelling up agenda. 3. Champion cultural diversity and representation. Promote diverse stories and voices across all forms of media and performance. Fund initiatives led by minority, disabled, and underrepresented groups. 4. Boost the creative economy. Support creative clusters, enterprise zones, and export strategies. Expand access to training and apprenticeships in the creative industries. 5. Preserve and promote national heritage. Invest in museums, historic sites, and archives. Encourage public access to heritage through digital platforms and education. Policy measures and practical interventions. 1. Community and regional infrastructure. A new £150 million cultural levelling fund has been introduced to revitalise regional theatres, libraries, music venues, and galleries. Partnerships with local authorities support community-led cultural development initiatives. 2. Cultural education reform. The national curriculum for arts and heritage is being expanded to include cultural history, design thinking, and creative production. A new culture card gives young people aged 16 to 25 free or discounted access to cultural events. 3. Support for freelancers and creative startups. Establishing a creative freelancers fund for those working outside major institutions. Supporting local creative hubs and workspaces through business rates relief and digital infrastructure. 4. Digital and global expansion. Expanding the British Council's digital presence to promote UK culture abroad. Funding for streaming and virtual platforms to widen access to exhibitions and performances. Case study, the UK City of Culture Programme, Hull and Coventry. Background. Established in 2010, the UK City of Culture Programme designates one city every 4 years to receive focused investment and national attention as a cultural leader. The initiative draws on the success of Liverpool's 2008 designation as European Capital of Culture, which had a transformative effect on that city's economy and global image. Hull, 2017. Over 5 million visitors attended events across the city. An estimated £300 million was added to the local economy. Significant improvements were made to public spaces, museums, and cultural institutions. Local pride and community engagement surged, with over 2,400 volunteers taking part. Coventry, 2021 to 2022. Despite pandemic limitations, more than 700 events were held across the city. The program focused on diversity, inclusion, and youth participation. It resulted in the creation of a permanent Coventry Cultural Trust to continue programming beyond the title year. New creative partnerships were developed between schools, community organisations, and local businesses. Lessons learned. Long-term planning and legacy funding are essential to ensure impact beyond the title year. Community leadership, rather than top-down programming, yields more inclusive and authentic cultural experiences. City of Culture designations can catalyse broader economic, social, and reputational benefits if aligned with local strategies. Future directions. Looking ahead, the UK must continue to adapt its cultural strategy to support resilience and inclusion. 3 major areas of focus include: decentralised funding, empowering local cultural boards and community organisations to allocate resources and shape priorities. Digital transformation, expanding access through online platforms and virtual experiences, especially for those in remote areas. Sustainable culture, supporting the transition to low-carbon events and venues, and embedding environmental themes in artistic work. Conclusion. A strong cultural policy does more than fund the arts, it underpins how a nation understands itself, heals division, and builds shared meaning. In a complex and often divided era, culture is a unifying force that can speak across class, region, and background. As Prime Minister, I believe that investing in the arts is an investment in the long-term health of our democracy, our economy, and our national spirit. Through programs like the UK City of Culture and sustained public commitment to the creative sector, we can ensure that culture remains not only a national treasure but a daily experience for all. Chapter 21: Governing in the Age of AI and Global Disruption. Case Study: Cabinet Office Futures Unit and Global Risk Preparedness Post-COVID. Introduction. The 21st century is defined by unprecedented speed and scale of change. From climate shocks and geopolitical instability to pandemics and artificial intelligence, the United Kingdom faces a future shaped by uncertainty, complexity, and disruption. Traditional models of governance, designed for slower, more linear times, are now being tested. This chapter explores how the UK government is adapting its approach to governance in response to these realities. It examines the role of foresight, innovation, and flexible policy in navigating global disruption, and sets out a practical framework for governing effectively in a world transformed by artificial intelligence and systemic risk. The challenge: government institutions worldwide are often reactive rather than anticipatory. The COVID-19 pandemic, the Russia-Ukraine war, and rapid breakthroughs in AI technologies have exposed serious gaps in readiness, coordination, and agility. Key governance challenges include anticipating complex risks. Governments struggle to prepare for interlinked, low-probability but high-impact events. Regulating emerging technologies. Rapid innovation often outpaces legal frameworks, especially in AI, biotechnology, and data governance. Maintaining public trust. In an era of disinformation and institutional fatigue, credibility and transparency are increasingly difficult to sustain. Cross-government coordination. Fragmented policymaking and siloed departments weaken resilience and responsiveness. AI and emerging technologies, a governance priority. Artificial intelligence has emerged as both a transformative opportunity and a profound governance challenge. AI systems now underpin everything from medical diagnostics to national defense, and from financial services to public service delivery. Key risks and opportunities include automation and labor displacement. Ethical use of AI in policing, health, and surveillance. National security and AI arms races. Data bias, algorithmic discrimination, and privacy concerns. Global regulatory divergence. The government must govern not just technology itself, but also its social, economic, and ethical implications. Strategic government objectives. To respond to these 21st century challenges, the UK government has identified 5 strategic governance priorities. 1. Build institutional foresight and future readiness. Develop long-term scenario planning across departments. Integrate futures thinking into budgeting and risk assessments. 2. Modernize policymaking and civil service capacity. Upskill public servants in digital literacy, systems thinking, and rapid policy prototyping. Create flexible teams that can be deployed across departments. 3. Establish ethical and effective AI regulation. Create a unified AI regulatory framework with public trust at its core. Encourage industry and academia to contribute to transparent, inclusive AI development. 4. Strengthen resilience through cross-government coordination. Use central hubs, e.g., the Cabinet Office, to align national risk strategies. Fund rapid response units and integrated emergency planning. 5. Enhance public trust and democratic legitimacy. Communicate clearly and transparently during crises. Engage citizens in participatory policy design, particularly around AI and data use. Policy tools and interventions. 1. The Cabinet Office Futures Unit. A cross-departmental unit tasked with horizon scanning, strategic foresight, and long-term risk management. Works closely with academic institutions, international partners, and civil society to map emerging threats and opportunities. Embeds future thinking into legislation and procurement planning. 2. AI and algorithmic transparency standards. Government Digital Service, GDS, and the Center for Data Ethics and Innovation developed a new framework for public sector AI. Piloted algorithmic impact assessments for all major public service AI tools. 3. National Risk Register overhaul. The UK's National Risk Register has been updated to include cyber warfare, biosecurity, climate tipping points, and AI misuse. Each risk includes assigned lead departments, early warning indicators, and cross-sector coordination plans. 4. Crisis simulations and national exercises. Government now runs regular whole-of-society simulations including private sector, devolved governments, emergency services, and community organizations. These simulations include pandemic resurgence, energy grid collapse, and misinformation campaigns. Case study: the Cabinet Office Futures Unit and Global Risk Preparedness Post-COVID. Background: following the systemic disruption caused by COVID-19, the UK government established the Cabinet Office Futures Unit to ensure long-term resilience in policymaking. The pandemic revealed that while scientific and logistical knowledge existed, governance mechanisms were reactive, fragmented, and often short-termist. Key initiatives: cross-sector foresight workshops, hosted collaborative forecasting sessions with scientists, economists, technologists, and community leaders. National Resilience Dashboard, developed a data-led dashboard measuring real-time vulnerabilities across health, environment, economy, and digital infrastructure. Future Scenarios 2040 commissioned a publicly accessible set of UK scenarios around automation, aging, climate, geopolitical shocks, and AI dominance. Outcomes: improved the speed and coherence of responses to emerging risks, e.g., energy shortages, cyber incidents. Informed new regulatory proposals for AI, autonomous transport, and critical supply chain resilience. Elevated the role of futures thinking across Whitehall, particularly in defence, health, and infrastructure planning. Future governance directions. To thrive in the coming decades, the UK government must institutionalise adaptability. Future priorities include establishing an AI and Emerging Tech Commissioner to provide independent scrutiny and coordinate ethical AI development across the public and private sectors. Creating a public deliberation platform, the digital space where citizens can learn about and help shape policy on controversial technologies or national risks. Investing in tech-savvy civil service leadership, expanding secondments, fellowships, and training schemes to build technological fluency at the highest levels. Conclusion: the age of global disruption requires a new kind of governance, one that is more agile, transparent, and anticipatory. AI and other exponential technologies are rewriting the rules of statecraft, commerce, and citizenship. Rather than fearing this transformation, the UK must lead it with clarity, ethical conviction, and practical readiness. As Prime Minister, I am committed to building a government that looks beyond the electoral cycle, prepares for multiple futures, and governs with both realism and imagination. The UK must not only adapt to global change but help shape it. Conclusion: a vision for a resilient, united, and forward-looking United Kingdom. In this book, we have examined the most pressing challenges facing the United Kingdom today: economic uncertainty, regional inequality, pressure on public services, global instability, social division, and the urgent need for democratic renewal. While these issues are complex and interconnected, they are not insurmountable. Each chapter has offered practical responses, rooted in evidence, shaped by lived experience, and tested through real case studies across the country. The UK has faced difficult periods before. It has weathered recessions, wars, political turmoil, and pandemics. What has always defined this nation is not just resilience in the face of hardship, but its capacity to adapt, to innovate, to reform, and to rise above momentary setbacks with long-term purpose. Today, our task is not merely to recover from recent crises. It is to rebuild the foundations of a stronger, fairer, and more confident United Kingdom. Key lessons from the journey. Practical governance matters. Vision alone is not enough. Strong leadership is built on delivery, on listening, adapting, and acting with integrity. Local is powerful. Solutions do not always lie in Westminster. Communities across the UK are rich in ideas, talent, and ambition. The future must be built with them, not for them. Unity does not mean uniformity. The UK is a union of 4 nations, each with its own identity, history, and voice. Recognizing and respecting these differences strengthens, rather than weakens, our collective future. Public trust is earned through transparency. People want honesty from their leaders, not perfection, but humility and clarity of purpose. Young people must be central to our national strategy. The energy, creativity, and values of the next generation will determine the UK's long-term success. They must be engaged, not ignored. A framework for the future. The case studies and strategies in this guide are not one-size-fits-all policies. They are part of a governance philosophy, one that is evidence-based, not ideologically rigid. Rooted in partnerships across sectors, parties, and borders. Committed to long-term thinking, not short-term headlines. Focused on equity, sustainability, and innovation. Government should lead not by centralizing control, but by enabling others, by giving local leaders, businesses, educators, health workers, and citizens the tools and trust to build the society they want to live in. The role of leadership? To govern is to make choices. As Prime Minister, I am deeply aware that every policy decision has a human impact. The role of leadership is to balance competing needs, resolve conflict with courage, and above all, to act in the national interest, not for political convenience, but for generational benefit. This book has been an attempt to share that philosophy with transparency. It is not a political pitch, it is a guide to practical governance in uncertain times. And it is an invitation to future leaders, to civil servants, to citizens, join in building the next chapter of this nation's story. Final words. What kind of country do we want to be? We stand at a crossroads. The choices we make now about how we invest, how we educate, how we govern, and how we care for each other will shape not only the next 5 years, but the next 50. The United Kingdom can be a leader in innovation, not a follower in decline. A fair society, where geography doesn't determine destiny. A respected global actor, not an isolated outlier. A trusted democracy, not a disillusioned one. It will take courage. It will require unity across divides. But with clear vision and practical action, we can meet this moment and emerge stronger than before. This guide has laid out a roadmap. Now, the work of walking it belongs to all of us.